Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. That number, if you want to call your senator and urge them to vote no on the civil rights nominee. You tell them you want your senator to vote no on the civil rights nominee. They will know exactly what you mean. Don't have to worry that you can't remember the guy's name. Don't worry that you can't remember the name of the cop killer. Don't worry about any of that. Just call your senator at 202-224-3121. The number's up on our screen for those of you that are video streaming or watching television or watching online. 202-224-3121. And don't forget, by the way, you can audio and video stream Focal Point every day, no matter where you live in the world, at afr.net, afr.net. We have apps for the iPhone. We have apps for the Android. We have apps for the iPad. We have podcasts. We upload the video segments to our website almost as soon as they are done. So a lot of different ways to access the content. But call your senator, vote no on Obama's civil rights nominee. That's all you got to say. I urge Senator Blank to vote no on President Obama's civil rights nominee. They will know exactly who you're talking about because that vote is going to be this afternoon or tomorrow. 888-589-8840 is the number to call. You know, I mentioned in the last hour this story out of New Mexico. New Mexico Governor Susana Martinez has gotten the brush off from her hairstylist over her opposition to gay marriage. New Mexico Governor Susana Martinez needs a new hairdresser. This is an AP story, or a new stance on gay marriage. Martinez was recently dropped by her hairstylist, Antonio Darden, who is gay. Darden told a local news station that he cut the governor's hair 3 times but won't do it again as long as she continues to oppose gay marriage. Now flip that around. What would happen to a Christian baker who baked 3 cakes and then said, look, I'm not going to bake another cake as long as you support sodomy-based marriage. As long as you support gay marriage, I'm not going to bake another cake for you. I'm not going to bake another cupcake. I mean, it would be Armageddon. So you got to ask yourself the question, where's the outrage here? Where are the lawsuits? Where are the protests? Where are the boycotts? The governor's aides called not too long ago, said the hairdresser, wanting another appointment to come in because of her stances and her views. I told her aides no. They called the next day asking if I changed my mind about taking the governor in, and I said no. So again, double standard, blatant there. Interesting article. I just want to read a little bit of this before we go back to the phones, 888-589-8840. Also be curious, if you do call your senator, what reaction you get from the senator staff. Ask them, you know, when you call, say, I'm urging Senator X to vote against Obama's nominee for the Civil Rights Division, and ask him, how is the senator, can you tell me how the senator intends to vote? Now, this actually happened in Canada in November of 2012. Case reported by the Toronto Sun. A lesbian walked into a Muslim barbershop and wanted a businessman's haircut. So the barbershop's run by a Muslim. And remember, devout Muslims do not believe that they should even touch women other than their own wives, even to cut their hair. So the lesbian walks into the Muslim barbershop and she says, I don't like the girly cuts they do at the salons. I want a guy's cut. I want a boy's hairdo. So she goes into Omar Marouk Terminal Barbershop in Toronto. He follows Sharia law, and now that case is in the hands of the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario. So she's filed a formal complaint with them, and they are going to hear it that he would not cut her hair. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, almost exactly the same deal. But I'm guessing because this guy's a Muslim, here's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing because this guy's a Muslim, they're going to cut him some slack that they would not cut a Christian. They will be talking about multiculturalism. They will be talking about diversity. They will be talking about honoring his deeply held religious beliefs and all that stuff that they wouldn't dream of using when it came to a Christian. Now, a writer by the name of Ezra Levant says, look, and you'll get a kick out of this. He's talking about this kind of totem pole of political correctness and where everybody ranks out in terms of their status on the civil rights totem pole, uses a poker hand as an analogy or cards. Now, if you're a white Christian male, I mean, you're like the two of clubs. You're nothing. You got the lowest hand you could possibly have. You maybe have one high card in your hand, and that is it. So everybody's going to trump you because you're a white Christian male. Now, if you're a white woman, you have the equivalent of a pair of deuces if you're a white woman. So you're in better shape than the white Christian male. You got a pair of deuces. He's only got one high card. Now, if you are a gay man, if you're a homosexual, it's like you have two pairs. So you're now trumping the white woman. She's only got a pair. You've got two pairs because you're a gay man. A gay woman, a lesbian, like this woman that wanted the Muslim to cut her hair, she's got three of a kind. Now, if you are a black lesbian, that's a full house. That's almost impossible to beat unless you are a black lesbian in a wheelchair, and that's the equivalent of a straight flush. Levant says the only person who could trump that would be a royal flush. For example, if the late Sammy Davis Jr., who was black, Jewish, and half blind, if he were to convert to Islam and discover that he was 1/64th Aboriginal, he would have a royal flush, beat any hand in the house. All right, let's go to the phones, 888-589-8840. Let's go to Kathy, Wallace, North Carolina. Kathy, what's on your mind?
Yes, I've got a little more concern about the Ramika family. It sounds to me like they may be in permanent limbo now.
Well, but I'll tell you, indefinite means exactly what it sounds like. Indefinite, whatever the status is, indefinite deferred status. I mean, that is exactly what it means. That means the Obama administration isn't going to touch them.
I know, but they can't become a citizen. They can't vote. They can't, why can't they just accept the political asylum thing? Then they'd be able to become a citizen and vote and everything else.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, and maybe that's,
are they going to have to pay taxes?
Yeah, well, I'm assuming they will. Maybe that's part of the maybe part of the spitefulness of the Obama administration. They're going to just kind of stick the knife in and twist it a little bit. Yeah, you can stay, but you can't become a citizen. You're never going to be able to vote. You're always going to be sort of in this sort of no man's land from a legal status standpoint.
Yeah, it might be a good thing if they don't ever have to pay taxes. Maybe well, get off.
Yeah, they're not going to get away with not paying taxes, I guarantee. And I will bet you the IRS will watch them like a hawk, and maybe they'll get audited by the IRS just hoping they can find something in their tax return that's amiss so they can boot them out of the country. Well, that's a good observation. I hadn't thought, Kathy, about that particular angle. This is sort of a kind of limbo status, neither fish nor fowl. But at least the good news for them is they do get to stay. And this is the same status, by the way, this indefinite deferred status. This is the status that President Obama is granting to all these illegal aliens who he wanted to cover under the DREAM Act. He said, well, I can't get Congress to pass the DREAM Act, so I'm just going to act as a tyrant on my own, and I'm just going to unilaterally grant them indefinite deferred status. Same deal. So again, they're kind of frozen in time, and maybe what could happen there if there's some action to grant these people an indefinite deferred status, citizenship or whatever, well, then the Ramikes ought to be brought in under the same umbrella. Let's go to Larry, Shreveport, Louisiana. Larry, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian.
Hey.
Good job out there being a outrider. I appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
Listen, I want to tell you what, Obama's courts, and that's why I say Obama's courts, these liberal courts, these liberal judges are using the same tactics that they used on the 30s and in the 60s. Of course, I wasn't born in the 30s, but I come up in the 60s. I was born in 49. And I've seen, and I was part of the civil rights movement, I've seen how they took these blacks and they got them for just anything. So they made a law back in the 30s that if you was a felon, you couldn't vote. And a lot of other rights they took away. But so they used that same law in the 60s to take, because they was getting the blacks to vote, to change things. And they're using the same tactics now. They're using the courts on this guy that was trying to stop the abortion, trying to give out leaflets in the legality of where he was at. But that's what they're doing, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to use the courts to try to stop our voice, the Christian voice, or anybody who opposes murder, mass murder, that's abortion, and anybody opposes homosexuality, because those are the three things that are in the Ten Commandments. So they took the Ten Commandments out of every place, but those three charges about love the Lord with all our heart, no God before us, no murder, and then a sexual sin of adultery or whatever.
Yeah, any kind of sex outside marriage. Yeah, which would include homosexuality. Yeah.
So what they do, they take out the Ten Commandments first, and those three things are promised in the Ten Commandments, but they're going to use the courts to knock us off, and they'll get away with it. And you know what? I'm not a conspiracy theory, but I cannot. In the back of my mind, I believe that Obama these federal judges have made these slash rulings that they have in the last 6-7 months. I believe they were prompted. And also, I called the senator right after I was listening to you. And you know what? The guy that I talked to, he thought I was speaking in unknown tongues, so he didn't know anything about it. I had to go with the whole spiel. I said, you know what I'm talking about. And he just finally went quiet, and I said, have a good day, sir. So, that's the way they're accepting the calls up there.
Yeah. Well, if that gets passed on and they get enough of them, trust me, they are going to know exactly what is going on and what their constituents want them to do. All right, Larry, listen, I appreciate the call. Thank you for that. Speaking of the race for the Senate, Thad Cochran's running for re-election in Mississippi. Got a story in the stack where he went to, and he's being challenged by a Tea Party guy by the name of Chris McDaniel. And Thad Cochran is sort of an undocumented Democrat in a lot of ways. And now there's a story from Politico this morning where Thad Cochran attended a fundraiser this morning in his behalf run by the Podesta Group. This guy is an advisor to Barack Obama. This is his lobbying group. And it was this Podesta's lobbying group, this Podesta guy that's an advisor to Obama. He's the one that's raising money for Thad Cochran. Tells you all you need to know about Thad Cochran. Focal Point, AFR Talk.
We are